Hey everyone, it's Madison from Seattle Coffee Gear, and today I'm excited to brew some drinks with you. I'm going to talk about two variations on a classic cafe drink. I'm talking about the cappuccino. Cappuccino is one of my favorite coffee drinks. It's classic. It's built on these ratios, so it's going to be a drink kind of in three parts. So you're going to have your espresso at the bottom. You're going to have steamed milk, so milk that doesn't have much foam in it, and then a layer of foam on top. Now in a traditional cappuccino, those three parts should be roughly equal. So if you were to look into a clear glass, you'd see equal parts of each component of the drink. Where the wet cappuccino and dry cappuccino vary from the traditional cappuccinos, really just how much steamed milk is in there. So with a wet cappuccino, you're going to have more steamed milk and just like a small layer of foam on top. It's really close to a latte. It's some people say that a wet cappuccino is a latte, but I think there is, slight differences. And then your dry cappuccino is going to have much more milk foam on top. So it's going to be really foamy. So if you think about the traditional cappuccino having, three equal parts, you can just think about the dry cappuccino having much more foam on top. So if you're a foam lover, then I think the dry cappuccino might be for you. That's really the big difference, is how much steamed milk. Much more foam on dry, much less foam on the wet one. So without much further ado, I'm going to go ahead and brew both of them so you can check it out. All right, I'm back. I've got my scale taired. Looks like I'm at about 15 grams now, so I'm gonna put just a little bit more in there. I like to get close to 18 if I can. 16.5 is okay with me too. So here we go. And brewing on the bellow and grinding with the Eureka Minion Oro XL. Gotta say, I really like the grinder. The machine's exciting too. It's new to us here at Seattle Coffee Gear, so I encourage you to check out the crew reviews for both the Eureka Minion Oro XL and the Deletta Bellow. Now first, I'll show you the wet cappuccino. Like I said, it's going to be very close to a latte. It's just going to be a thin layer of foam up on top. You'll see a real dramatic difference when I do the dry cappuccino, but first, let's do the wet cappuccino. Now, you might have heard, but I aerated just a little bit longer than I would for normally with a latte. With a latte, I usually aerate for around 2 to 5 seconds. With a wet cappuccino, I want just a little bit more milk foam, so I aerated for just a little bit longer. Now also with the wet cappuccino, you want that milk foam to be similar to that latte quality, where you have, you're aiming for a pitcher that has nice milk that almost looks like wet paint, right? Incorporate all those bubbles. There we go. All right, so it looks a lot like a latte. You can see there's this layer of foam here I mean, this is latte territory, but I would still, call this a wet cappuccino. I think another one of the differences between the wet cappuccino and the latte is a lot of times you're going to see larger size lattes, 12 to 16 ounces or so, and cappuccinos are typically smaller than that. You're going to find 6 to 8 ounces. So, yeah, I'd call that our nice wet cappuccino. We'll give it a taste. Tastes good. All right, I'll just get reset for the dry cap. All right, here we go. It's time for the dry cap. $16-gram dose, pretty good. It's gonna be similar to that one, so I'm gonna roll with it. Make sure that my grounds are good and evenly distributed as best I can. My shot fell right at 6 seconds. That's pretty good. I really like that this bellow has the dual pressure gauge going on here, so you can see your steam pressure and also your brew pressure too. What's going on at the group head. It's nice. And that's 30 seconds, so let's cut it. Now with this dry cappuccino, I'm gonna aerate just about as long as I possibly can. I'm talking the whole time. So listen for those little paper tearing sounds. Those little wisps, you know you're incorporating air. And I want this to be as frothy as possible. All right, knock out some bubbles in there and pour up here. There we go. Here we go. So, well, I'd say this one is drier, but not quite as dry as I'd like. So I'm going to do it one more time. All right, my friends, I'm back and I'm ready to take another shot at that dry cappuccino. That middle one looks great as like a regular cappuccino, but I want to see if we can really get it as dry as we can. Maybe not quite bone dry, but definitely drier than that. So here we go. Now I mentioned bone dry. That's yet another variation on the cappuccino. Like we said, wet's going to be kind of closer to a latte. Dry is just a little bit more foam still. And then you may also hear bone dry. And bone dry is just espresso and foam. No steam milk at all. And that takes a little bit of skill and coordination on the barista's part, but I think that it, set your mind to it, you can do it. A little bit larger of a dose, so just to keep it fair, I'm going to knock a little bit out here. And we're at 16, which is consistent with those drinks, so let's do it. Now, I just want to let you know, one of the changes that I made is I put quite a bit less milk in here, because I really want to allow for more room to stretch that milk. So I've got slightly less, below the start of that pitcher there. There's my line of milk. And here we go. Let's really try and stretch this out. Really like the color of that espresso. It's coming out nice. It's 30 seconds, so let's get this going. You hear that? That aeration is a little bit more volatile. I think there's just more room for the air to get into that milk, so here we go. And it's hot. I'm going to save just a little bit of espresso there. Give that glass a little bit of room to breathe. All right, here we go. That's what I'm looking for. Whoa. So you can see the foam quality up on top is the bubbles are a lot bigger, and our layer of milk is, our layer of foam layer is definitely quite a bit more dramatic, and that's what we're looking for with a dry cappuccino. Quite a bit more than you might find in a regular cappuccino, and certainly more than in the wet cappuccino. But yeah. Thanks so much for watching, and I hope you learned something about cappuccinos today, and I hope that you make one at home. They're great. So thanks again for watching. Take care.